Barich. That's the name on my birth certificate. But the title I earned is Councilman Barich. And according to proper etiquette, that you should have been studied up by now, you should know that. Now, I want the public to know tonight that I'm not only the only former city councilman here tonight in the room, but I'm also the only citizen who bothered to attend tonight, this meeting. And I think it's clear to me that's because this community has a complete lack of faith in this body of government to lead and lead responsibly. It's a very sad testament. Now, last month when I came before the city council, I asked for the second time if I could please find out from the council what the council spent $71,000 on regarding a new purchase of a police vehicle. Now, here's your staff report from October 22nd. And nowhere in this staff report does it say what you purchased. I've asked nicely if you could just share with me the purchase order to see what we spent $71,000 on. I got a bunch of malarkey from Mr. Landman about some 1978 Volkswagen. The whole issue of my question went completely over his head with his resentment and hatred for responsible leadership. So I'd like to ask again. The last meeting I attended, Ms. Skillman was serving as vice mayor in your seat, sir, and I asked her at the end of my presentation, can I please find out what we spent the $71,000 on? She said, absolutely. Now, what part of absolutely did you mean, madam? Absolutely in my lifetime? Absolutely not? What kind of legal mumbo-jumbo spin are you trying to put on these meetings, disgracing this body? Am I deserving of an answer to what we spent $71,000 on? Am I going to continue to get this chuck and jive from a very simple question from a taxpayer, a former city leader in good standing with the town? Can I get a straight answer? Are you people so jealous, so vindictive, because I was elected to the city council while these three men were appointed? Now, I'm sorry if you're jealous, but you need to grow up, and you need to answer my question. Can I do that? Can you folks do that?
Thank you.
Thank you for the extra time, Mayor. I do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Seeing there's no one else, did you have anything, Mr. Barich, for consent?
No, sir.
No. All right, seeing that I will close the citizens business section of the meeting, and we will move on to consent calendar where we have items A, B, C, and D.
Move to approve.
I'll second those. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Please show a final vote in favor of approving the entire consent calendar. And I just lost my page. Yeah, 9 is good, but you don't have it in front of you. Here it is. Sorry about that. Direction on future agenda items. I actually have nothing. Does anybody else have anything to bring up? Not seeing. So I would like to see if the council would be interested. As you know, Mayor San Ricardo in San Jose had sent out an inquiry to a number of electeds. I did sign on because it was in between our meetings. And in essence, I'm kind of not giving it a fair shake, but it was to look at the possibility of changing how PG&E operates in a very broad nutshell. Whether it's a private entity, which we don't think it's ever going to go to that, or should it. So I agree that we should look into that and have a discussion with the PUC. Now, a staff person from the city of San Jose has sent an email that I shared with the city manager, and it's a draft resolution to kind of push this forward just a little bit further. So my question is, under a future agenda item, would we be interested in at least looking at that resolution, having a discussion, getting public feedback, and making a decision whether we want to or don't want to sign on to the resolution?
I think it'd be appropriate to bring back some agenda item.
So you two,
I'd like to suggest, I think there's nothing wrong with supporting this in concept. Had I been here last, as you can tell, I'm not all the way back. I had been here last week when I reported talking about how we're looking at some of the things that's going to clean power for the two counties that we serve, including Sonoma County. But I'd like to suggest that we bring it back rather than sign on strictly, completely behind that. At this point, I'd say we just support the concept, much as we already have, and wait and see. I think this becomes real at the point they bring some sort of funding package together to the bankruptcy court. And I believe, I guess being honest, there's some efforts to make that happen. But until that really happens, my personal take would be I prefer just to support the concept, and I think we can do that. If you look at the principles they put forward, support the general principles, they're all good ones. They speak to better service, more open books, innumerable benefits that would be good for the public. But that's the only caveat I'd have. If we were to bring it back, I wouldn't want to sign completely onto that until they get to that point. Imagine that's a month or so by the time it came before us. It might actually time out perfect.
Yeah, I am figuring, this is our only meeting in December. The absolute earliest we could see it is the second week of January, but it could even be that fourth week. So I just wanted to see if there was interest in at least looking at it. I mean, it is conceptual, but just taking it a step forward. So, all right, so we have a motion, City Manager, and I will follow up on that. Great, thank you all very much. And now we're at item 10, which is our regular agenda. And the first item is adoption of resolutions supporting the nomination of the Gravenstein Corridor zoning district as a priority development area and the commercial/industrial and general industrial zoning districts as a priority production area. And I will turn that over to Mr. Hausch.
Thank you, Mayor Delos, members of the council. Just very briefly, I have just a quick PowerPoint. But as was identified, the items before the council are consideration and adoption of two resolutions to support the nomination of the Gravenstein Corridor zoning district as a priority development area and the commercial, industrial, and general industrial zoning districts as a priority production area, which is a new designation under ABAC ATC. There we are. So moving on to the introduction slide, just as I just mentioned and the mayor introduced, there's two resolutions to support these nominations, and if they are approved by the council, they'll be submitted to ABAC NTC to support their nomination of a new PDA for Cotati and a new PPA, which I'll get into. So just briefly, what are as a PDA? Most folks in Cotati and Sonoma County are familiar with what priority development areas are. They're areas within communities that the community has shown a local commitment to develop housing, amenities, and services to support the day-to-day needs of the residents, focusing on pedestrian-friendly and transit-rich environments. The priority production area, or PPA, is a new designation proposed by ABAC MTC, and it's intended to support local job creation and economic development in areas that are zoned for industrial use, so specifically only industrial uses, and are also within a half-mile of regional transit. And it also can't overlap with an existing or proposed priority development area, or PDA. And this is just a pilot program. I'll get into that a little bit more in the next slide. So just briefly to show the areas we're talking about, the resolutions identify Gravenstein Corridor, so the area is zoned as Gravenstein Corridor commercial district, highlighted here. And the next slide shows the areas zoned for commercial, industrial, and general industrial combined as the Cotati Business Park priority production area. Those are the two areas highlighted with the resolutions proposed to be nominated under these titles to ABAC NTC. So we'll go to the next slide. Just to get a little bit of the background, born from a 2006 effort called Focus Our Vision, led by ABAC, which sought to focus growth and conserve open space and protect quality of life and ecological diversity. In 2008, the PDA, Priority Development Areas, was the framework for those was created. In 2008, the City of Cotati adopted a resolution to create the downtown PDA, which also includes actually the Santero Way specific plan area, so it's often seen as two separate PDAs, but when it was adopted, it was done as one, supporting those two regions. And ABAG ultimately approved that as the downtown and Cotati Depot priority development area. That's what we have today. Since this, the state legislation, and there's a lot of background in the report, I'm going to paraphrase, the state legislature and local efforts have sought to address climate change and focus development on directing or focus grant funding towards projects that are within these areas. And so in 2012, MTC prioritized the direction of transportation funds towards jurisdictions that had planned for housing and focused their growth in PDAs. 2013, as an example of how that worked, SCTA directed 92% of their OBAC grant funds to PDAs. So it's obvious that the funding sources have kind of consolidated into areas and communities that have adopted priority development areas. And in that round, Cotati received $250,000 towards some of our infrastructure work. And that was for the Old Redwood Highway South Preservation Project. And it's worth noting in the latest round, Cotati was awarded $675,000, and that helped fund the East Cotati Avenue Street Rehabilitation Project, also as a part of our PDA. And so kind of continuing on those efforts, MTC and ABAG in 2018 kicked off the Plan Bay Area 2050, which is the next step in the regional planning efforts. And as a part of this, they are asking communities to provide letters of support for new PDAs, but also in discussing kind of the intent of the PPAs, or priority production areas, they received a little bit of criticism in that all their efforts were focused primarily on housing and preservation of open space, and so they decided to pivot and also focus on kind of some economic development efforts and prioritization of supporting job creation. And so out of that came this pilot program for the priority production areas, or PPAs. And the intent of these is to identify in the future some funding opportunities or technical assistance to support enhanced planning and infrastructure opportunities for properties that are designated under this PPA, with the goal to expand the current contributions of those local properties and the businesses that operate from them for the local and regional economy. So it's basically the other legs that previously supported housing and open space, now looking to do some economic development work. As a part of that, we have to designate some land within the city as a PPA if we're going to try to chase some of that grant money as it becomes available. And so staff is recommending that the council adopts that resolution, which will allow us to formalize that application. As identified, it's private, it's a pilot program, so it's new. How well it shakes out, we don't really have a lot of answers to, but we do think it's worth filing that request to nominate those areas. There are no or minimal impacts to the budget currently, just the staff time it took to file the application and bring the item before the council. The project is specifically exempt from CEQA, and it's worth noting that, again, acceptance of either the new PDA or the PPA is not guaranteed, but we're going to try to work. So with that, it's recommended that the city council adopt two resolutions, and it's identified in the next slide, to nominate the Gravel Corridor zoning district as a priority development area, so a new PDA for the west side of town, and then also the commercial, industrial, and general industrial zoning districts as a priority production area, as identified in the staff report. And the next slide is just the slide of questions.
All right, very good. Thank you for that report. Any questions for staff at this point? I'll start with Councilman Barich.
I think most of us are familiar with the terminology of pedestrian friendly. It's something that we've used for many years. Can you elaborate a little bit on what it means to be a transit-rich environment? That terminology is seems to be a little bit newer.
Sure. So it's generally locations that have regional transportation, public transit, with certain what they call headways or basically occurrences. So how often do the regional transportation systems, so either SMART or the bus system, show up at the bus stops or the SMART station? And it has to be a half an hour or less, the headways, for that to count as transit rich. The current Gravel Highway stops may not qualify, but there's kind of some flux that SCTA is looking at with regards to improving their service, and so we're putting our hat in the ring with that area. That's kind of the reason why it may not be supported by ABAG and NTC, but we think it's a good effort given the ability to get some additional grant funds.
Is it possible that with some of the development going out there, that there might be transit stops added out there in the future as development occurs? Right now, it's dirt, so I get why they would want to have a bus stop where there's just dirt.
So absolutely, generally, transit stops are intended to provide help for people. If more people living there, then they could choose to increase frequency. And it is worth noting that one of the most recently approved projects on the north side of Cotati City Highway does include the construction of a new bus stop at that location in front of the assisted living facility.
Thank you.
All right, very good, thank you, George. Councilman Moore?
My question was kind of the same. I'm assuming, well, you referenced a half an hour or even a half mile.
Well, the bus stop has to be within a half mile of these areas, and the headway on the bus has to be every half hour. So it's both.
And so we're looking at the ones over on Old Bed by Walgreens and that area?
On the west side of the highway, though, so there are some bus stops over there, and the park and ride, but the question of if we meet the headway, it's not 100% clear, but we're choosing to apply in the hopes that we can work with SCTA to convince ABAG to accept it.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Councilmember Landon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One question. I know there was some talk from NTC today about potentially looking at refurbishing slightly the PDA requirements after last year's CASA effort. And I'm just curious, are we aware of any caveats tied potentially to this, or any seen on the horizons requirements that would come along with this ability? Because that's often the case. If you're open for money, you review various stipulations. We saw there were some potential changes through legislation, also potentially for areas that are served by transit. And I just wanted to ask if you've heard of anything like that. That's the only thing about this that gives me any pause. Is there, and it's probably a question for Mr. Bacher too. If there's nothing involved in this right now, and subsequently it would probably be harder to change that. But that's what I wondered if I can get you to the final one.
So that's an excellent point. ABAG NTC did reevaluate and I believe issue new criteria for what qualifies as a PDA. The areas that are currently designated, we were allowed to internally review those and work with them. Didn't involve a new nomination, and we believe that our current PDA is going to stick under those new criteria. I'm not aware of any efforts to make some of the mandates that were associated with some of the CASA considerations tied to PDAs, but the point of PDAs being reevaluated is a good one, and that is accurate. They are currently being reevaluated by NTC and ABAG.
I just want to see if anything was being floated more. Obviously, anything can happen in legislature. You know that.
Yeah, I have not heard of any legislative efforts focused on PDAs or PPAs as it stands, but as you know, there has been a lot of creative legislation, particularly Bay Area legislators, some of which has been focused on MTC plan Bay Area stuff. So one never knows. But so far, they defined on a statewide basis transit-oriented areas more broadly rather than focusing on PDAs or PPAs.
Good. Thank you both. That's helpful.
All right, thank you very much. Vice Mayor Stein, any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, I have no questions. I'll just have some comments afterwards, but I'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. Mr. Barich, no? Public comment on, it's very complicated. We just walked in on this, probably not, I know, but I'm just going to throw it out there. We're talking about the possible adoption of resolution supporting the nomination of the Gravenstein Corridor zoning district as a priority development area and the commercial/industrial and general industrial zoning districts as a priority production area. Did you have any comments? No? Okay, all right, I'll go ahead and close public comment. You know, to me, there certainly doesn't seem to be any harm in the application process. And especially in this case where we have been successful with the previous PDA in getting funding for projects here in Cotati, so why not leverage whatever money we may have in our budget, which is not a huge budget, but leverage it from any outside sources. And, you know, there's a lot, what was it, some 98% of the money was allocated by ABAG and MTC, went to PDAs. Wow. It'll probably be a little bit less, maybe because the PPAs is something newer. So, but that's okay. You know, they're still going to allocate that large of a percentage of money to those two zoning areas. I mean, why not, right? So, any further questions or comments from council? Please.
You know, I just concur with you. My thoughts were similar to that. You know, I don't see a whole lot of downsides in this. And, you know, putting it in and trying to qualify, you know, it's a big may have benefits to us. So there was nothing in here that I saw as a downside to at least trying to bring possible funding sources to the community.
You know, the one thing too I want to add though about the, I call it the frequency of stops on the corridor. You know, there are less frequent stops because the development hasn't occurred there. You know, is that something that MTC and ABAG would take into consideration? And knowing that there's development coming, we already have proposals, one or two that are already approved by council, you know, wouldn't that make, I would assume it would make a little bit better argument in getting these called that. I don't know if you've heard anything about that.
Well, we've talked to SETA about that and are trying to leverage their help in getting some additional support from ABAG and NTC.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. Any further questions from this side?
No question, just a quick comment. I'd like to congratulate staff for being on top of looking into something new and just emerging like this. Benefit the city, that impresses me, and I agree with general intent of the comments here tonight.
All right, very good. So with that, I would look for a motion from someone.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to move a first motion tonight to adopt a resolution supporting the nomination of Graviston Quarters zoning district as a priority development area.
And second?
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Please show a flag vote in favor of that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Hausch. And we'll now go to the second item, item B.
There's two.
Oh, there are two resolutions.
You got to do two.
And I'll do the second one. Okay. So I'd also move that we adopt a resolution supporting the nomination of the commercial, industrial, and general industrial zoning districts as a priority production area.
And I'd be happy to second that.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Knowing that there's not a third resolution, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Please show 5-0 for both resolutions. Thank you again. All right, item B on the regular agenda is award of the construction management contract for the bicycle and pedestrian wayfinding project. I assume that will be Mr. Scott.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Greg Scott, Public Works Director, City Engineer. On June 28, 2017, the city obtained Transportation Development Act grant in the amount of $90,000. The grant is to be used to design and construct bike and pedestrian wayfinding signage. The city hired a consultant to conduct a series of public workshops and design the wayfinding signage. The signage is on the board there and has been in the hallways of City Hall for many months now. It reflects much public input from several public workshops. The design is complete now and includes the different types of signage and information kiosks and a map of where each sign is located. The next step is to prepare bid documents, solicit bids, and use available budget this year to install the signage. There are not sufficient funds budgeted to install all the signs in the kiosks. There's $30,000 of the grant money left, which must be spent before June 30th of 2020. So it's a pretty tight schedule. And fund for a total of $132,000. The installation of all the signs and kiosks are estimated to be $232,000. The approach is to, so our approach is to install as many of the signs as the budget allows and put on the kiosks for a second phase to happen at a later date. The signage coming in all at one time would be looked at in clusters so that there's continuity and the signage leads to its destination point. So no gaps also. There'll be a functioning units of the program to be installed. The contract you're considering tonight with Mo Engineering is for $33,000, $326. It includes preparing the bid package, soliciting bids, and construction management inspection. So the design is largely done. However, it's not in a state where we can just put it out there for contractors to bid on it. It just has a few more technical details left, fabricating details, some structural, how do you put some of the more elaborate signs in the ground, what that looks like. And then, of course, we're looking to have the consultant provide construction management inspection. So during the construction, the submittal sign to be fabricated, and the contractor comes back with, hey, this is what you want before we have to go ahead and fabricate the signs. This consultant will be review those submittals, make sure that matches the design. The effort is expected to include continued assistance from Public Works field staff for the exact locations of each of the signs. They were involved in the earlier design, just to make sure that those locations are feasible. That when it comes down to actually, this is exactly where we're going to put it. We're going to envision bring them in for that portion of it. Okay, the plan is to advertise in February, construct in April, starting in April, and then that till June 30th. Actually spend the money, or like I said, there's just about $30,000 left for the grant money that we have. With that, so it's what we're considering here is to, by motion, approve a professional service agreement with Mo Engineering Collaborative Services. If you have any, respond to your question.
All right, very good. Actually, I do have a quick one. Regarding the construction management that we're hopefully going to approve here shortly, is that construction management for the total project? Because we don't have enough funding to do every phase right now, all at once. And that's what you were saying earlier. As far as, literally doing all the install and the design work, obviously done the fabrication and install. So is the construction management for what we're taking on now, or is it for like the entire project, which will fund maybe in 2 or 3 phases?
It is for just what we're considering now, right in June.
Okay, that's what I wasn't clear on. Thank you. Any questions down this direction for staff? Seeing none, how about this way? Councilman Barich?
Can you help refresh my memory, the placement of the signs, are those all going to be on public property?
Yes, we'll be on public right of way.
On public right of way, okay, sorry, so there's nothing that we need to do from a property perspective for placement?
Correct, so we've got a number of parks, they'll be located in the county park, the plaza park, and then the Laguna right of way. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Councilman Ward, any questions? No. All right. I'm going to go ahead and open this up for the public hearing. If anybody has any comments or questions, and seeing none, go ahead and close and bring this back to council for action.
I move we approve